You ever heard of intuitively listening to your hormones? Hey guys, Dr. Lester here, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about intuitively listening to your body during your cycle. This is kind of a crazy notion, but it's really interesting. So let's start with that men have a different cycle than women do. They tend to have a diurnal cycle, so their hormones fluctuate throughout the day rather than women whose hormones fluctuate throughout the entire month. This is important because it helps us realize that the 9 to 5 was really designed much more for a man's cycle than it was for a woman's cycle. And this is why, as a woman, you'll probably experience things where some days you're super productive, you got this, it's going well. Other days, I just can't get out of bed. That's because your cycle is more in a monthly cycle, and we should try and work accordingly. This is why they say that many women actually choose to be home givers or caregivers and whatnot, because it's more of a regulated cycle that they can control rather than that 9 to 5, which is brutal for women. So let's talk a little about this. You have 4 different phases of your cycle. The first one is the menstrual part. So that's day 1 through 6. And obviously this is when you're bleeding, right? So this time your body kind of already tells you what it needs. It needs to usually rest and relax to not do all of the hard things. Yoga is a gentle movement, or any kind of gentle movement is super helpful. It's just kind of like keep things going, not be too hard on your system, that kind of thing. And then gentle self-care is good during this time. And then yes, chocolate is actually good during this time, with the caveat of keep it hot, darker chocolate, because the darker it is, you actually get the benefits of it. I like to think of this phase as you just moved in to, or you're about to move in to this new home, and you're painting the walls and you're just exhausted. You know, everything is going wrong. It's a shit show, that kind of thing. So you just moved into this house. It's a little stressful. That's the process of where we're at, right? Then you have your follicular phase. This is actually the phase where you're building up to being able to have a good home for this egg, right? So during the follicular phase, I like to think of it as this is your unboxing of everything. You're unpacking, and a lot of people actually kind of like this time because it allows you to be a little bit creative, right? Well, same thing with during your menstrual cycle. So this time covers approximately days 7 to 14. During this time, you can do light activity. You can have, it's a good time to set your goals, you know, to change your environment, be a little bit creative. And I thought this one was kind of a fun one. Interestingly, this is a great time for fermented foods. So like pickles and kombucha, which I love. So this is a good time for that, as well as fruit. It's just kind of, I don't know, lighter, fresher kind of things. Everything is light, everything is moving, everything is changing kind of time. Then we're going to go into our next phase, which is our ovulation phase. Now this can kind of vary depending on the person. It goes anywhere from day 10 to day 16-ish. This is when you are actually ready to get pregnant. So you're actually ready to fertilize that egg. I like to think of this time as your housewarming party, right? You can actually have a party now that you've like set up all of the things, right? And this is a great time for you to be really social. Your body is looking for that mate. So this is actually like a super great time to be social. It's also a good time to work a lot more. You can actually get more done during this time because you're feeling more energetic. And weirdly, I love this because one of the great things that you can eat during this time is eggs to make eggs, right? But also meat, organs, and some carbs are actually good during this time because it's more of a time where you can move a lot and do a lot of things. And then the last one is going to be your ludial phase. So this is days 14 through 28, just depending on what your system looks like. This is the where I'm starting to move out again phase. So this is some heavy work. This part of your system is where it's getting ready to move into a new place, right? So that's kind of how we're going to think about this. So you do a lot of heavy lifting. You're going to work extra hard mentally, physically, all of those things during this time. You're going to be your most productive during this time. Which also means that you can up your activity, your physical activity during this time. You can do harder workouts. Most beneficial actually during this time is going to be weightlifting rather than cardio. And eating a lot of protein and fiber during this time is going to be super helpful because you're looking for that heavy, sustainable fuel to support your system as it's getting ready to detox some of that in your menstrual cycle. So I really like this idea of intuitively following what your system should do, because a lot of us already kind of do. But also looking at it with how does the work cycle work for you in this dynamic with your cycle. You should also just pay attention to a couple of things throughout your whole cycle, and they're simple basics. Look at what your sugar intake is looking like, manage your stress, eating meat appropriately, especially throughout your cycle, is going to be important. You know, a lot of women are short in a lot of nutrients, not just iron, and anemia during this time. So eating meat is going to be fairly important. Balancing your electrolytes, getting enough sleep, maybe having some magnesium to help get your system through some of that stuff. And then of course, just listening to your body in general. I hope that helps, guys. Thanks.